Bulavanaka, hello and welcome to the first of what will be a regular podcast talking all things Drua, as well as looking at the Shop and Save Super Rugby Pacific competition as a whole. I'm Greg Clark, and I'm thrilled to be calling all the Swire Shipping Fijian Drua home games in 2023. And joining me in commentary will be Super Rugby Centurion Sam Wykes. I think he's a bit like Greg Norman. He's had almost as many clubs as Greg Norman. Throughout Australia and throughout Japan as well. And also joining us this year, Fiji radio and TV personality, Kara Koroi. First of all, welcome back, Sam. Last year was your first post-rugby year. You obviously enjoyed the move into the media.
Bulla Clarkie, it's great to be back on again. I absolutely loved my time in the commentary box next to you and calling the Drua games and just seeing the game from a different angle. It was honestly special, and pumped to be back on again for this year.
Welcome. Now, Kara, I find it hard to keep up with your work commitments. So do us a favour and take us through what your week actually looks like. FBC, Fiji Gold, Fijian Drua.
Thanks, Clarkie, and Bulla to you as well, Sam. I'm grateful to be part of this opportunity to be part of the commentary team for this year's Super Rugby Pacific season. And pretty hectic week for me, usually every week. And I know it's pretty hard for you to catch up with me on a daily basis. And I do get back to you when I can. But yeah, it's a lot of fun stuff. And being in the media in Fiji is no joke. It's pretty full on. We're constantly doing things. My line of work has me doing a lot of things in a day. I'm a radio presenter in the day, and I'm a TV presenter in the evening, and I produce a couple of shows. And apart from that, there are other things that's going on. So yeah, it's no joke.
Thank you for finding the time to join our commentary team in 2023. Okay, before we get into the first week of Super Rugby Pacific, let's talk the preseason. And it was a very good one for the Drua, Kara, wasn't it? A couple of wins.
Oh my goodness. I thought that was incredible. I mean, it was only a trial match, but to see the turnout on that day, really overwhelming. And you remember, Clarkie, that there was also a thunderstorm towards the second half of the trial game. That didn't make people go. It didn't deter anyone's spirit. Everyone just stayed put. And I thought that was really good for a first-time trial game in the country. It's sort of like a sneak preview to what we should be expecting in the next couple of weeks.
Indeed. And Sam, what impressed you most about the two trial wins by the Drua, the rest in Andy, 24-0, and then the close but very satisfying win over the Force, your old team, and that was in Brisbane.
Yeah, a couple of things. I guess physically they look in really good shape. I think having another proper season under the players' belts over there, so they look in great condition. We know the Fijian physiques. They don't need to do too many weights to be able to have that chiseled look, but they're looking like unbelievably fit at the moment. I also think they look organised. I really believe that they understand their zone outcomes, and what I mean by that, so how they exit, clear plan in place, and they execute it. They're doing it in the middle part of the field, and how they score points, and that's complementing their game of still being able to play on their feet and get those offloads away, which we saw the Force struggle with at times. We saw the Rebels struggle with at times, and that's going to be their strength again moving forward into this year.
And the lack of consistency really hurt the Drua in their first season, Kara. So many highlights, but they failed to back up week to week. So what are your listeners, what are the fans in Fiji saying about this season? What are they expecting?
They're expecting a lot of power from the team, and I know that we have a lot of new boys in the team. You would have seen that during the preseason game in the last couple of weeks, we had busloads of people that came in from everywhere to watch the new guys in the team. Not only the new guys, but those who had been part of season one as well, the first season, pardon me. And then we've got a whole lot of rugby fans who probably came late to the party and just into this and looking forward to how we're going to shoulder on, especially the Fijian Drua and all the opposing teams as well. Because before the formation of the Fijian Drua, you must understand that Fijians also had other Super Rugby teams that they were cheering on. So you will expect fans to come on and come out in numbers along with the merch of the other teams as well. But yeah, it's going to be very special, and we're all looking forward to it.
Yeah, that's why I'm looking forward to home games in 2023 in Fiji, because last year we saw that when the Drua had to play most of their games in Australia. Fijian living abroad have their own teams because you haven't had a team to cheer on. And when we're out at Leichhardt or Parramatta, there are actually quite a few Fijians with Waratah shirts or Force shirts or whatever on. So they can really get behind their own team this year. Sam, you've moved into a bit of coaching as well, and you've had some success at the junior level last year. So keep going, mate. That's great news, and you're giving back to the game that you love so much. But putting your coach's hat on, what are the work-ons for the Drua as they embark on year 2?
I still thought the line-out area was still a struggle, especially in that Force game. I think they were 0-4 in that first 20-minute period. Last year they probably went to a bit more of a 7 style of just going to short man lineouts and just being able to play off the top. But I guess, when they're playing against sides like the Crusaders for round 1, what you can't do is give over possession cheaply. And although they can do a lot with the ball, it's where it comes from the source. I still feel like line-out time is an area of concern. That if they get that bit right, it puts them in better position to score more points. So tactically, how they plan for that against a side like the Crusaders, who I think are probably the kings of performing under pressure, the kings of pretty much having all facets of the game covered. In terms of preparation and performance. So it's going to be a big task, but I do love the fact that they're still sticking to their strengths of being able to keep that ball alive and play on their feet.
Well over 100 Super Rugby games, Sam. As a lock, how many lineouts do you reckon you jumped in?
A fair few, I guess, but learning under guys like Nathan Sharp, I think I didn't have to do too many. I in him the whole time because he called to himself a fair few times. But from that experience, like learning how he moves about and then playing against guys like Victor Matfield, I feel like even to this day, those two guys were still the pioneers and the top shelf of line-out callers. And I think with the new rules coming in, it's probably going to bring that type of caller back because you can't huddle before any lineouts anymore. You've got to get in there quick and probably assess where you need to call, just take yourself a little bit more time. But just looking forward to the draw and how they go.
Yeah, there are some law experiments coming up, and talk about that a little later on in the podcast. And there are changes to the Drua squad. The big news on the player front was Benaya Humbosi having his contract terminated. The club didn't hesitate to send him packing. Now, we can't talk about it here, so we'll just have to wait to see how it all plays out for Benaya. But Kara, he will be missed. He is a superstar making.
Oh, definitely, Clarkie. I mean, sad news, rather unfortunate, but what can I say? I mean, it was pretty devastating. A lot of Fijians took to social media talking about how upset they were, how disappointing it was. But really, moving on, there are other impact players in the team that we should be noting and looking forward to their performance. Really, I'm for one that's going to be looking forward to the new boys in the team. We've got the 18-year-old Basilala, who is going to be a star in the next couple of weeks, I suppose. But yeah, we are moving on. We've accepted what's happened and looking forward to a great season.
Now, Sam, you've seen players burst onto the scene, but Humbosi, he was a sensation, wasn't he?
Oh, he was. We said it many times in the commentary box. He really lit up the crowd. Every time we saw the yellow boots in space, it lifted, and he was exciting to watch. But as I said, moving forward, it's in that position of being on the wing, and we all know Fijians can produce wingers, so it's exciting for someone else to be able to fill that slot, and another superstar, I guarantee, will be in the making there to be able to make that wing their own.
Okay, well, who will fill his yellow boots? We're going to find out in the coming days because it is week 1. This week, Aroni Sau was signed, the sledgehammer, as we used to call him. He'll be in, good spirits coming from France. He's a good addition to the back line, top sevens player, played Test rugby. Let's chat about the outside backs first of all, because it's a centre. You said Michael Naitakani. You've got Nosoko and Api Vota. In the trials, I was really impressed with Yusefa Masi, Sam. a sevens gold medalist for Fiji, had the stint in the NRL, based himself with the North Queensland Cowboys, but he looks a quality player.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that well-roundedness of having a bit of a league background as well as a sevens background is going to help him, especially defensively with the Drua. I think when we go back towards when they played against the Chiefs, especially around scrum time, defensively, their systems of that phase let them down because the scrum was so powerful from the Chiefs, and it forces the centres to make a bit of a decision on whether they need to come in or whether they need to hold their man. So someone like him, we able to help stiffen that defence up in midfield, and I think just what he can do with the ball, it's just, again, Fijians, I just love the way they play. They know how to find the line, they know how to find space, and they can fend, they can bump, and they've got speed. So that's just an added bonus to what he can bring from his experience.
And Kara, what about the back three? Ravovo coming off, a breakout year, forcing his way into the Flying Fijians. You've got Rabu Tamanda that played last year. Ili Drossesi is back from the Reds. Talinga, what a great star he can be if he can just keep the body intact. And Sama Vodre had some good minutes in the trials as well. So, no Hambosi, but gee, there are some good names there.
Yeah, I reckon they all will make a good start, especially this week when we're looking forward to the game against Moana Pacifica. But you know how it is with the impact players being in the team, making a difference as well with whatever they've got. We may have lost Hambosi, but all these other players who are really good at what they do, and they're pretty strong as well. But like Sam has mentioned, Fijian players, they're very particular when it comes to having to play around on the field, and they do have some unique styles as well. So those are the things that we might be having to look out for during the season.
Yeah. In the number 9 jersey, Simi Korowoli injured, might be the whole season. Frank Lamani, we know what he brings to the team, and Penny Matawalu, so some good experience there. We'll get on to the development players who move into the main squad a little later on, like Basalala, because he is, an 18-year-old and has a bright future in front of him. Fly half Caleb Munson, Teddy Teller, and Teddy led the team pretty well last year, Sam, and with that year under his belt, Caleb Munson should be able to step up a bit more this year.
Exactly. Those two, Teddy really took it upon himself, in that sort of middle half of the year where he was finding his groove, and Munson was in and out with a couple of injuries that he was carrying. But no doubt, I think that, when you said put that coach's hat on, that's probably the area where they are a little bit thin, the Drua, in that halves compartment. If we look at the outside backs and we look at the back rowers, there's a lineup for days there, but just in the halves area, their depth may be challenged if Munson does go down or Teti Della does go down at some point. But exciting to see what they bring for this year. And as you said, a year under their belt. I think they understand how they need to direct the team around and what their strengths are. We saw in the game they played with a lot of width off 9, trying to create those one-on-ones with the defenders when they were attacking, and they just wanted to play quick footy, quick ruck speed to be able to go again. So as long as they do that right and they kick at the right times, I think they'll put the Drua in good stead.
You mentioned the back row. My goodness, Tanako Bata, Firikan Deveta, Meli Daralengi injured, probably will miss the first 6 games of the season, but he is the club captain. Mira, Momodomu, Nasobe, also Salawa, Joe Tamani. Gee, it's impressive if they can stay fit.
You're not wrong. I was impressed with Big Joey, Big Smoking Joe Tamani. He's handy, and that's where they've got him. He was able to, when they play with that width, he can get his arms free and get that little flick away to the winger, because once that outside back turns in, he's got the ability to be able to get his shoulders through the contact and get that ball away, and that's what's going to create that space on the edges. So really looking forward to that back row combination and who they go with, because it's going to be a headache for some.
Kara, sorry to do this to you, but next on my list here, the props. The Tet, Koroi, Dua, Salvoli, Tawaki, Tuni, Tukiri, coming back from the Melbourne Rebels, and Louis Lekepa. So quite a few of them were there last year. They've sort of boosted the ranks a little bit. the odd injury in there as well. So I'm not quite sure who's going to be putting their hand up in week one. But again, a bit of consistency up front, so that helps.
Oh yeah, I mean, for those who last year's season, definitely looking forward to them going a notch higher. And for the new guys as well, we are looking forward to how they'll perform this time around. But yeah, the props, how good are they?
Well said.
And the hookers, but there's a bit of experience here. Dollar Coco, what a character, and gets around the park, and we saw him when needed last year. He also packed down in the back row as well. Tavita Gunavali, he was a captain during the pre-season, and also Tongi Atama. So Sam, three guys backing up from last year, and that's the key to a new team, isn't it? You've got to just build combinations. You've got to get some consistency around the selection.
Yeah, you're not wrong, and I think it was good to see Kaniveta get another leadership role during the pre-season. I think for him, if he can get his throws right early in the game and they work him into the style of play that they want from line-out time, because his quality around the field is just, as you said, that all three of those players can fill in the back row if they need to. They've got that skill set, but it's just making sure they get their throws right, and the jumpers, jumping consistently with speed off the ground, that consistent spacing to help them out so they can hit the mark every single time.
Give the jumpers, an MB we saw last year, and the Silla is back, a real workhorse. With Tui Silia and also Tuafangalele.
Yeah, Nasila, he was really impressive. He played a lot of minutes last year, came from club scene and got his first taste of Super Rugby. So he did all that grunt work, those little 1%ers that probably don't get glorified in team meetings or in the media for, being there in the right spot of doing those little clean outs, making his tackles. So I think for him, it'll be another step up to grow from last season.
Okay, and some news coming through this week as well as we look at the development squad. It started out at 12 players who joined the team base in Nandi, and already some have been promoted to the main squad. We talk about Vasalala, there's Kunavula, Matadingo, Murray, Tave has been promoted to the main squad, Nagwiri, Ralulu, I hope I'm getting these right, Rumbitu, Tuasesi, Rikuro, Vakalakalo, and Bolabola. And Johnny Tico has been added to from the West Bulldogs in Brisbane. He's a prop, and so that's good news. And another winger, surprise, from the Drua Development, Rikuro has been promoted to the main squad as well. But you mentioned Basalala before, Kara, 18 years of age, out of Suva. In that trial game, he had a lot of the old boys from his college, current students from his college in Suva. His mum is a well-known journalist in Fiji, had family right across the park. But he enjoyed that day and impressed, didn't he?
Yeah, he did have just a bit of time on the field, but he really did make an impact just for that little while. And having him in the club and just being an 18-year-old boy playing for playing Super Rugby, it's an opportunity, and he's paving the way for other young fellas just like him, looking up to take a position or to play in for the Drua. It's creating a lot of opportunities for the young rugby players around the country. And you mentioned that the development squad started off with a small number, now it's increased, and it looks very promising. So Philip Basalala, remember we mentioned that there was a busload of all his friends from Suva and his supporters and his family members. He comes from a big family as well. There's a lot of siblings. And, this is going to create sort of like a whole lot of hype, a different hype altogether, not only for him, but for the other new members.
Okay, well, we've touched on the squad for 2023. The format for the Shop and Save Super Rugby Pacific competition. 12 teams again, Moana Pacifica, Fijian Drua, Blues, Chiefs, Hurricanes, Crusaders, Highlanders from New Zealand, Waratahs, Reds, Force, Brumbies and Rebels from Australia. So each team plays 14 regular season matches. That's 11 round robin games, and then they have 3 rivalry matches to bring it up to 14 matches. 1 bye per round, and all the byes will be mid-season, round 7, 8 and 9. For the Drua, it's in round 7. 18 weeks, 15-week regular season, 3-week, 8-team playoff series. So we start with the quarterfinals again, the top 8. The rivalry matches, each team plays 3 teams twice. One will be at home and one will be away. So that's the format for the season. We touched on the new law experiments, Sam. No TMO during play. I'm really pleased about that one, unless it's an obvious foul play incident. There's a time clock on the kicks. It's 90 seconds for a conversion, 60 seconds for a penalty, 30 seconds to set the scrum and the line out. The scrum half has to stay back until the ball is passed. That's the defending scrum half. I think it's a good ploy by Sansa to try and speed the game up, and a team like the Drua would love it.
You're not wrong. I really love the addition of, excuse me, the TMO staying out of the decision making. I think we're as fans of the game, we want to see free flowing rugby. And there's times where the TMO, I feel like they have just got involved too many times to, go back 4, 5, 6 phases. And it is frustrating to see. Obviously, if there's genuine foul play, of course they're going to step in, but that's really good news. I love, that they've sped up the lineouts to be able to get in there. It's just, it brings back quality calling in terms of where you need to call to space. Scrum time, 30 seconds will be interesting. I feel like that part of the game, there still needs to be proper setups in place, because you don't want to rush that part. Like the props need to go through their processes, and the last thing you want to see is any type of injury come from it because they haven't got their correct sort of binds in place or anything like that. So it'll be interesting how they monitor that around the game, because, and as I said as well, like spoken in commentary box, sometimes the old Kit Kat rule comes out when you when you're blowing a little bit and you need to take a breather at scrum time. You go on the ground, and props are usually the ones to be able to implement that strategy throughout the game. So, but all in all, pleased to see all that happening.
I would love to have 10 Fijian dollars for every time I've seen a prop do up his bootlaces just as it was about to be packed late in the game. But anyway, that's all part of the entertainment if you are a forward. Let's have a look at the Drua fixtures. There is technically a home game in Melbourne round 2, which is the Super round, but 6 of the regular season matches will be played on Fiji soil. So round 1, it's Moana Pacifica coming up this weekend at Mount Smart Stadium in Auckland. The Waratahs are in round 2 in Melbourne Super round. What about the Crusaders match in Lautoka? It's week 3. Tickets are on sale now, and it's going to be a belter, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's going to be. That atmosphere is going to be great. Like we got a glimpse of the home games last year, especially when they played against Kiwi teams. It's going to be interesting. I think with having those 6 home games, the way the Fijians performed in Fiji, the Drua performed in Fiji, it's almost like they just grew another foot and just got like stronger, faster, fitter over there, because conditions were tough to play in. And in 6 of those games, hopefully that's a genuine home ground advantage for the lads.
And round 4, it's the Reds in Brisbane at Suncorp Stadium. Round 5, the Highlanders in Dunedin, a couple of tough games back to back there. Then Kara, week 6, the Rebels, and it's a double header because Fijiana Drua will be playing the Rebels women in Super W in the match earlier in the day, followed by the Drua and the Rebels. Suba, your backyard. Sam and I, we're bringing all of our family and friends, and thanks for inviting us to stay at your place.
I hope you drink grog. Well, watching the Fijiana women take part last year, that was incredible too. I mean, they really did perform well, coming off as winners, first timers too. So that'll be great to see them on home ground too. And all I can say is that what I'm hearing from everyone at the moment, the hype for Super Rugby, the Fijian Drua as well, the momentum's carried on from last year, and this time around the expectation is much higher. So no matter who the Fijian Drua will be taking on, and as long as it's a home game, it's going to be huge.
Okay, well, round 7 is the bye. Round 8 is the Brumbies in Canberra. Round 9, the Chiefs in Pato. And then back-to-back at home, we've got the Drua playing the Blues in Lautoka in week 10. And around 11, it's the Hurricanes in Suva. 12, Sydney. Round 14 is the Drua against Moana Pacifica. This is one of the rivalry rounds where they play home and away, and that's going to be amazing in Lautoka. And round 15, the final round in the regular season. Hopefully the Drua are well and truly in the top 8 by that stage. If not, at least they've got a home game advantage against the Reds in Suva. And what about the poor Reds, Sam? They've got a trip to Suva to take on the Drua, and then they've also got to take on Moana Pacifica in Apia in Samoa. Gee, that's a big double in the Pacific for the Reds.
Yeah, that's got to be, mate, that result, like, as we said last year, like that home ground advantage and playing in those conditions, it's tough for the travelling team, and the Reds do have a big task ahead up again in Apia. But for the Drua, it's, man, what a special occasion this is going to be, especially that Moana Pacifica game in Lautoka, as you said. Like, if that doesn't, we saw the Chiefs game lift off over there. I can't imagine what that game's going to be like. I just can't wait to be a part of it. It's going to be unreal to call.
What about you, Kara? That is going to be something special, isn't it? The Battle of the Pacific in Lautoka.
Yeah, Pacific brothers getting together and battling it out, and it's going to be wonderful to watch. I mean, Sam mentioned the game against the Chiefs last year in Lautoka. That was big. I wasn't there in person. I watched it on TV, but I could feel it. I could really feel it. But to be there in person this time around, I'm definitely looking forward.
Okay, Sam, the Aussie team to beat, the Waratahs, everyone's talking about, but, the Brumbies, recent years, there or thereabouts, and the Reds, they were disappointed with the way they finished the season last year when they had to take on the Kiwi, but they seem to have the measure of the Aussies earlier on. So what's going to happen?
I think the Waratahs will be probably the ones to, for the Australian teams out of it to beat, because they've added some great additions. I think, the Fijian Big Money on dollars back in New South Wales Waratahs colours. I know he's a strong addition to that team, and how they use him is going to be vital. With his strength, he's going to get that power game, first phase of scrum, line out, getting over the gain line. And I just think they're really settled at the moment compared to the other teams. The Brumbies as well, they'll probably be, they'll play the underdog card like they do every year and say, no, we're just going to go and do our business and not get overconfident. But they will always be in the hunt. I think they've got a smart coaching team to be able to prepare the teams really well. And the addition of probably Jack DeBassini just as well to bolster up that halves combinations there with the older head. He's been a lot, so he'll be around as well. But yeah, I think that those two teams for Australia will be the ones to beat.
And Sam, the Kiwi team to beat? Defending champs, Crusaders, Scott Robertson, surely his last year before he moves into an international job, could even move into Fiji this year. That'll be great.
I guess it would be. Big Razor Robinson is probably one of the best coaches going around in world rugby. And I think you just can't look past him, no matter what he does year in, year out with his team. He's got a band of sort of brothers that they've got down there that know how to connect on the field, but as well as off the field. He brings energy year in, year out, week in, week out. But you can't go past the Blues as well. I think from what Leon McDonald's done there with Daniel Helangahu, they've really turned the Blues around to be a team that's always had a lot of potential, young superstars coming through, but probably under-delivered consistently. I feel like they would be the next team for me to, really shake this competition to see who could take out the main honours.
Okay, tip time now. Kara, Crusaders Chiefs in Christchurch. I'll go the home team, the Crusaders. What are your thoughts?
I think the Crusaders will do well.
Yeah, like they all do in Christchurch. Well said. Sam?
Yeah, probably hard to beat down there, but I'm just going to predict it's going to be a high-scoring game, and the Crusaders will just get over the top of them.
This is going to be a cracker at the brand new Allianz Stadium. They're calling it Crowd the House. I like that. And it's the Waratahs taking on the Brumbies on Friday night. Toss of the coin, this one for me. The Brumbies definitely are the more settled, I think. But the Waratahs, Hoops is back. You mentioned Nadolo. How will they use the big man? and they're all the talk at the moment. So it's going to be a cracker.
Yeah, that game will be a big draw card, especially I think with the Waratahs back row. They've got some selection headaches there where they use Charlie Gamble, where they use Michael Hooper, because Charlie Gamble obviously had a breakout season last year and they used him as a 6 and 7. But I think, again, I love the Brumbies when no one's talking about them and all the attention's on the Waratahs. I love that they can just come in on the bus, up the Hume and sort of sneak under the radar, might get the job done and then just head back down there. So I love all aspects of this Friday night clash.
Yeah, okay. And we'll leave the Drua and Moana till last, but the Highlanders and Blues in Dunedin. The Blues, they're a team on the rise. Missed out to the Crusaders in the final last year, but Liam McDonald is still there as well. So this is going to be a tough one because the Highlanders need to improve on recent seasons.
Yeah, Highlanders are probably like our Brumbies, where they get a lot of the players who probably don't make it for up in New South Wales, or like for them in Crusaders or the Blues, and everyone heads down south. A very gritty team. Again, I feel like it's going to be a close one. The Highlanders love being the underdogs. Settled team with I think two of us. Sheck looks really handy in those trial games. I feel like he's finding his groove to be that triple threat of run, pass, and kick. Going to be an entertaining match, but I think I'll tip the Blues for that one.
Okay. Reds and Hurricanes. Now, this one is in Townsville in North Queensland, and it's a great idea by the Reds, Kara. A little bit about what we're thinking. Bring some big guns into Fiji early in the season when it's hot, when it's steamy. So the poor old Hurricanes are going to have to leave windy Wellington and head to a rather hot Townsville. It could be 30, 35 degrees. Who knows?
Oh man, I really do feel sorry for the Hurricanes. I'm not quite sure whether they'll be able to stand the conditions, but yeah, I'm going to go for the Reds.
Yeah, same here. Western Force, Sam's old team, taking on the Rebels, the All-Aussie affair in Perth, and that's on Saturday night. Both of these teams need to make a statement early. Sam, Western Force, Simon Cron, now the coach. Kevin Foote is still the coach of the Rebels. It's time to put up or shut up, really.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough one. I feel like the Force, a very young team, just looking at them in the trial game against the Drua. It's almost like they're still trying to find their combinations, especially around their halves pairing, who that's going to look like. But Cronny, I love Simon Cron's coaching style, the way he looks at the game, the way he prepares. So I feel like they're definitely going to be prepared well. It's just a matter of executing under pressure. And same with Kevin Foote. He's been around for a long time now. I had him at the Western Force as one of our defensive coaches there with, what was that, back in 2014 or 13? Can't remember, somewhere back then. But he's a great guy. He's full of things, and he'll be looking to make a statement in this first up to be able to get their season off to a good start.
Brad Wilkin will be the standing captain for the Rebels with no Rob Leota fit and available, and Mike, so captain of the Rebels last year, now he finds himself captain of the Force, so there'll be a little bit of sledging going on there. Okay, Moana Pacifica hosting Fijian Drua in Auckland, and that one is on Saturday night. Moana Pacifica, they won their last game of the 22 season, all the stats from Opta, thank you to them, and they beat the Brumbies at 32-22 after losing 10 in a row before that. Moana scored 20-plus points in each of their last 3 home matches for the rugby season after reaching that tally just once in their first 4 of the campaign. Now, the Drua won just 2 of their 14 games last year. We know that. They were close on quite a few other occasions. They lost their last 2 campaigns or the last 2 games of the campaign. Their most recent loss came by a margin of just 1 point, but prior to that, of course, the Hurricanes and also the Crusaders ran up big scores against them. The thing that worries me about the Drua, or worried me last year, was that they couldn't win away from home. Now, yes, they did win in Caloundra, which was technically a home game, but when they go to New Zealand and whatever, they haven't been winning. So it's time to make a statement on the road, Kara, isn't it? And wouldn't this be a great boost to the guys if they could win away from home in week 1?
It'll be a great start, and they'll definitely carry on the momentum from when they had the preseason games. They won both of them. So to have the first Super Rugby, the start of the season, to start it off with a win is going to be epic for them, and it's going to boost the performance, boost the morale as well. It's going to make a lot of Fijians very, very happy.
Okay. Sam, can the Fijian Drua, the Swire Shipping Fijian Drua, win first up in the Shop and Save Super Rugby Pacific competition?
Absolutely, they can. I think when we spoke about their run away from like on the road last year, it was a pretty unsettled preparation. There was times where they didn't even know whether they were going to be staying. Like, when the floods hit and they had to pack up and leave. Knowing myself, when we traveled with the Force a lot and with the Sunwolves, like that does disrupt your preparation a lot. So now this time around, they will know what it's like to travel. They'll be able to prepare better. The players will know that maybe at the hotels you don't need to have the big buffet feeds all the time. You can control yourself. But no, I'm only joking. But like I feel like they're that much smarter on how they prepare now because of that experience. And going over to New Zealand against Moana, I think this is probably the game of the round.
Okay, well, we're looking forward to it. So Super Rugby Pacific is almost upon us. Sam, great to have you on board again in 2023. Hopefully we can talk to you on the odd occasion throughout the year on our podcast, but you're looking fit and well. And if I don't see you beforehand, we'll see you in Toka, week 3, Crusaders versus the Drua.
Nah, looking forward to it, mate. And the black, I'm just wearing black, it's slimming, so that's why.
I must remember that. Kara, thank you very much. I know you've just come off air. You're just about to go and do another one of your 1,000 jobs today, but it is great to have a local personality doing our sideline reporting for us. And I know you're a dead set rugby fan. So thanks for joining us in 2023. Thanks for today, and we'll see you throughout the year as well.
Thanks, Clarkie. Pleasure to be here. Looking forward to the next one.
Okay. Well, that is our first podcast for 2023. Thanks for watching and listening, and go, you Fijian Drua. See you next week.